Have you noticed this? Some people, the very first moment they see you, are drawn to you as if they've been caught by an invisible magnet. Why? Is it really because of who you are? Or do they see in you something they've misplaced in themselves? In this video, we're going to look beneath what we casually call chemistry and consider the steady mechanism moving in the deeper layers of the mind. For Carl Jung, love is not an accident. It rests on two deep causes, tucked away in the most hidden rooms of the psyche. If you're ready, let's turn what you once called fate into a clear psychological map. Let me say this up front. A few sentences may jostle certain doors in you. That isn't as dangerous as you fear. Most of the time, it's liberating. Because this isn't only about them. You too become a symbol for others. In one person's eyes, you are safety. In another's, your play. In a third, your clarity and resolve. The more you can tell what part of that is real and what part is projection, the more the rope returns to your hands. When you understand why your mind calls certain people special, the door of your long-repeated story opens to a different voice. Maybe the question you've been asking for years finally finds an answer. Why am I always drawn to the same type? Most of us imagine love as a spark, sudden, inexplicable, enchanted. Jung says this: yes, there's a spark, but the firewood was stacked long before it ignited. The smells of childhood, the sound of your first disappointments, the color of the achievements you polish with pride, the weight of needs you shelved. Together they build a quiet architecture in your inner world. One day you meet someone whose shape fits that interior plan. The feeling of "that's the one" rises. Yet what's glowing on the stage is the light of a script written inside for years. So what we label destiny is often a familiar pattern from within. Take a look at the building's facade first. The persona. We all present a face to the world, a social outfit. Your harmony at work, your understanding in a relationship, your reputation as the friend who handles things. The persona fuels these. It isn't bad. It builds bridges, opens doors, keeps life flowing. But when it hardens into your only face, the rooms left inside grow dim. In one of those rooms, the shadow waits. Desires you don't want to see, anger you deny, needs you postpone, vulnerabilities you can't admit, memories you'd rather not remember. The shadow doesn't vanish. It gathers power in the places where light doesn't go, and it uses other people like screens upon which to show itself. This is where projection enters. What is unfinished inside appears outside in magnified form. You look at someone and think, there's the calm I crave, or there is courage in its pure state, or there's the clean energy of childlike play. What you see is often an echo of a potential within you. Another's shine is your own light reflected back. The same mechanism works in reverse. People come toward you because they see confidence, boundaries, tenderness, energy, or intelligence, often living examples of what they're missing or neglecting in themselves. We call the pull chemistry, but it's the geometry of the inner world casting a shadow in the outer. Picture a concrete scene. You're in a meeting. Your idea is clear, useful, practical. As your turn approaches, your heart speeds up, heat rises at the back of your neck, and your mind writes little horror scripts. What if they think it's silly? Then someone else proposes almost exactly what you had in mind, and heads nod around the table. I should have spoken, you think. In that moment, the clarity you see outside becomes a mirror for the hesitation inside. You can read that mirror as they're such good speakers. Or you can read it as, the clarity in me wants to speak. If you choose the second reading, attraction stops being a spell and becomes an invitation. You meet it in small, everyday ways too. A message arrives and your finger darts to the screen. You want to answer instantly because you learned to. Speed, usefulness, constant availability. Outwardly, it looks like reliability. Inwardly, it often turns you from a person into a function. The more people place you in the boxes of solution, speed, compassion, endurance, the harder it becomes to set a rhythm for your own needs. That's prime habitat for projection. Someone sees in you a ready fountain to fill their inner gap. In the long run, both sides pay, because what looks like inexhaustible resource is only the temporary surplus created by the suppression of your need for limits. Now to the heart of the video. People fall in love with you for two reasons, and both take root in the unconscious. The first, they see in you a quality they're trying to develop in themselves. A hyper-rational person feels the flow of emotion in you. An introvert senses the warmth of sociability. A rigid planner is dazzled by your spontaneity. Someone scattered settles into your order. The indecisive one rests in your clarity. The pull feels magical because a sleeping potential inside has found a living example in you. Here's the crucial distinction. If the person intends to grow that quality in themselves, the attraction matures. If they keep borrowing it from you, admiration turns into dependence. On a day when you can't carry their ideal, they accuse you of changing. But what changed was the flawless photograph in their head. The second reason, an inner archetypal image wakes up in them when they meet you. Every man carries an anima, every woman an animus. These aren't mere gender roles, but deep figures woven from childhood traces and collective stories. Sometimes you look at someone and feel, I've known you forever. That is the inner image clicking into place upon a person. Emotion rises fast, logic lags behind. The phrase soulmate floats to your tongue. Jung advises caution. An archetype is an ideal, not a human being. When the curtain lifts, two real people stand on the stage. If you stop pasting the inner image onto the other, the spell doesn't die. It changes shape. You move from fairy tale to story. And stories live longer than fairy tales. The pull formed by these two forces feels fated because it drops quickly into depth. Why does it collapse just as quickly? Because archetypal fuel runs hot and tolerance for reality runs low. In the first phase, the borders between me and you melt. Two childhoods, two projects, two shadows join in one flame. Then life brings the inevitable. Routine, responsibility, ordinariness, misunderstandings, small wearinesses. The archetypal curtain falls. Two humans remain in the wings. If you can say, let's stop worshiping each other as symbols and move toward the real person, the wildfire becomes warmth, and warmth becomes light. If you can't, only ash remains. From here we reach Jung's basic aim, individuation. Love is not only an intoxicating feeling, it's the psyche's effort to become whole. Everyone who enters your life carries a mirror. One shows your courage, another your fragility, another your jealousy, another your creativity. One reveals your need for boundaries, another your hunger for tenderness. Even the person you call wrong may have polished a part of you that you were avoiding. That's why Jung says, even heavy exams aren't wasted. Many are lessons you secretly chose so you could grow. Now ask yourself quietly, when I fall for someone, which part of me is speaking? Could what I admire in them sprout in me as well? When you look for the answer inside, attraction stops being control and becomes a compass. Sometimes the compass points to an unspoken call for tenderness, sometimes to a creative spark asking to be seen, sometimes to a boundary you've postponed. In moments of decision, listen for the body's small signals. Do you expand or do you contract? Expansion often points to the living direction, contraction to an old fear you haven't faced. Those subtle bodily hints are like a flashlight that cuts through the mist of projection. The same lens exposes the blind spots of being always available, always reachable, replying at once, understanding without a word. At first, this looks sweet and reassuring. Over time, a heaviness settles. People begin to treat you not as a person, but as a function. Labels like always delivers, always replies, understands everyone, feel like love, but they flatten the lively curves of your personality. Human closeness can take root only when both people stand in their own place. Standing in your place isn't withdrawal, it's the recentering of your weight. What about coincidences? That question waits at the edge of a season change. They appear just when you need them. You dream the same dream. An old song you loved is suddenly on both your tongues. Jung calls these moments synchronicities, meaningful simultaneities you can't explain by cause and effect. Neither idolize them nor dismiss them. The healthiest reading is this: something in me ripened, and the world offered it a stage. If you step onto that stage consciously, you notice that when the curtain closes, you've grown. If you walk on in a sleep, you repeat the same monologue. Heartbreaks aren't outside this story. Many breaks are the cracking of an inner picture. The other person can't carry the image you pasted on them. You can spend years calling it the wrong person, or you can ask from today, what did this teach me? You grow to the extent of the pain you can stay with. Each millimeter of accompaniment you can offer to your pain is a millimeter tighter the adult holds the child within. Oddly enough, the next time you love, you're less blind and more conscious, because now you see a person not to fill your emptiness, but as a companion who can walk beside you. How do you tell all this apart in practice? Track the tone inside while you look outside. If a bond dazzles you with a drunk expansion at first, but soon funnels you into an invisible narrowing, rules tighten around you, paralyzing expectations appear. The fear that one wrong sentence will ruin everything grows. You're probably in the noise of projection. Conscious connection can feel tenderly naked at the start, but in the medium term, it brings breath and space. The sense of I am loved even when misunderstood is the simplest proof that your space is widening. Everything we've said so far can turn into small but powerful shifts in daily life. When you feel sudden attraction, skip the quick list of traits and ask, which quality I'm seeing in this person is trying to speak in me right now? Catch the answer in a single word and feed it with one small move that day. Try describing your inner anima, animus. Collect clues from childhood feelings. When someone wakes that image in you, instead of turning the person into the image, gently call the image back and meet the human being. This doesn't kill the magic. It turns the magic into play. Where there is play, there is flexibility. And flexibility is the long-burning fuel of closeness. Put another pair of concepts in your pocket: the need-based relationship and the choice-based relationship. Need says, fill my hole. Choice says, while I care for my own emptiness, I want to walk this road with you, curiously. The first is frantic, the second, spacious. The first demands now. The second allows time. The first feeds projection, the second sees the person. The clearer this difference gets, the sooner you stop writing the same story with different actors. That's when the story really changes, because you have. Let's return to the sentence in the title and plant it in your heart. People are drawn to you for two reasons. Either they see in you a living example of the parts they've neglected, suppressed, or long to grow, or an ancient archetypal image inside them wakes up upon meeting you. In the first, admiration dominates. In the second, the sense of fate. Both feel enchanted. Without awareness, admiration curdles into dependence and fate into idolatry. With awareness, admiration becomes a teacher and fate becomes companionship. Then attraction doesn't feel like captivity. It feels like rest. You say more often, "When I'm with them, I come closer to myself." As we near the end, let's answer the opening question from within. Why do some people seem almost inevitably drawn to you? Because either they see in you something they've withheld from themselves, or an ancient inner figure stirs when they meet you. And why are you drawn to someone? Because either you feel in them the warmth of a quality you want to grow, or an inner image you can't yet name finds an echo in their form. This realization changes the direction of love, not outward, but toward the center. If anything here landed in you, leave a single sentence in the comments. The part that woke in me today was, "Your one word may loosen someone else's knot." If you'd like to keep walking together, remember to subscribe. In the next video, we'll turn these ideas into everyday conversations. The art of being gentle but clear without hiding the truth. Phrases that keep connection while saying no. And the warm bridge between boundaries and closeness. Until then, keep this question in your pocket. Which part that's waking in me right now is choosing whom outside? The answer won't be the same every time, but each time it will bring you a little closer to yourself. It helps to flesh this out with a live example, to give bones and breath to the map. Picture Ezra. For years she has used control and planning like a seatbelt. An unscheduled coffee unsettles her. Even an unexpected call can tilt her rhythm. Then she meets Arda. He lives by the call of the moment, listens to his inner weather instead of the clock, sometimes wanders to the shore at midnight just to hear the waves. In the first meeting, Ezra feels a breeze she didn't expect. A long postponed part of her rises like a remembered song. The more she gets close to Arda, the wider that breeze grows, but with it a quiet restlessness appears. Because Ezra doesn't just love Arda's flow, she borrows it. The spontaneous living muscle she needs to build in herself, she tries to use through Arda. As the relationship advances, small frictions begin. Ezra wants to plan. Arda wants to listen to the wind. If at some point Ezra can say, "What I love in you, I will cultivate in me," admiration ripens into mature love. If she can't, the borrowed energy runs out, and the magic dims. Here we see Jung's first cause in the naked light. People approach you when they find in you what they lack. Maturity begins when they decide to grow it in themselves. A brief tale of archetypal matching takes form in Mert and Seelen. As a child, Mert grew up with a mother whose presence was calm but deep. The house's emotional rhythm followed her intuition. Years later, when he meets Seelen, she feels so familiar. The softness in her eyes and the intuitive flow of her words fit the Anima image in Mert's unconscious like a key. Early days are honeyed. Mert feels at home with Seelen. Then one day she gets angry and reacts sharply. Mert is shaken. In his mind, the ideal feminine figure leaves no room for anger, only for serenity. The archetype clashes with the human. If Mert can say at that moment, "I pasted my inner image onto you," the curtain parts and two real people remain on stage. The fairy tale dims, but the story breathes stronger because it finally touches the real. Conscious noticing guides not only beginnings, but endings. When a bond breaks, we often ask, "What did I miss?" and blame ourselves, or we label the other. Why did they do that? Jung suggests a different question. Which part of me did this encounter reveal, and what did I do with it? Sometimes we saw the challenge and fled. Sometimes we saw the boundary and postponed it. Sometimes we saw tenderness and forgot to turn it inward. If you ask this without judgment but with curiosity, even endings become teachers. The pain doesn't shrink, but it sits somewhere more meaningful. When you can sit next to your pain, you feel the child and the adult in you holding hands. Let's glance at the traps of the outside world. Polished social media images, romances that fuse strangers in two scenes, and slogans like, "We understood everything on day one," exaggerate the sparkle of archetypal matching and silence the rhythm of being human. Real closeness grows through quiet adjustments. One person slows down a notch, the other speeds up a notch. One says two sentences more openly, the other listens 2 sentences longer. One says, "Not now," and promises to return. The other learns to wait. It isn't grand gestures that bring two people onto the same page, but small, consistent moves. The glitter softens. Trust increases. Now come closer to what I'll call your body compass. When a message arrives, do you feel your body expand or contract? When an invitation comes, before you blurt yes, can you hear that tiny inner tremor? Expanding answers usually grow your being. Contracting answers are often the automatic replay of an old role in a new relationship. Once you notice the difference, you begin to hear that subtle inner voice again. And that voice is one of the most trustworthy companions on Jung's path of individuation. The louder the world gets, the more vital your inner compass becomes. There's a question on many tongues, but hard to ask. Will I be loved as I am? The answer belongs more inside than outside. When someone loves you for their inner image of you, the slightest deviation shakes their love. When someone begins to see you as you are, the ground of the relationship widens. If you first tell the difference between being and performing inside yourself, you can build a bridge between the face you show the world and the rooms within you. That bridge doesn't harden boundaries, it softens them. Because you move not merely to be loved, but in contact with yourself. The wish to be loved doesn't vanish, but it stops steering you at the cost of yourself. Let's dig under the complaint. I always end up with the same type. Repeating patterns aren't a defect. They're a messenger. A knot inside, waiting to be untied, carries the same message on different faces outside. When you see this, you judge yourself less and grow more curious. Maybe you're drawn to distant people because the nakedness of closeness scares you. Maybe you chase the overwhelmingly strong because it's safer to watch the power you've postponed in yourself from the outside. Maybe you run towards stormy bonds because you fear the quiet inside and mistake motion for aliveness. Seeing the pattern is the first cut in the chain. Make the next choice a millimeter different. The sum of millimeters changes direction. A small difference can start a big turn over time. That's the heart of it. Even a single question asked in the right moment can shift your path. As your inner voice clarifies, your choices outside simplify, and the load gets lighter. Love becomes play, and play becomes trust.